gefällt. Ich schaue den Ton ein bisschen geschluckt.
Was kann man also Presse, so schade. Das ist ein Titel.
Mania du Carnaval, Cohen oder l'Enfant perdu, was soll das?
Da kann man l'Enfant perdu.
Intro accordeone, cominci tu. ancora sempre mentre di parlare, cosa vuoi fare? I pegi mulecche?
Wat?
Heb je een keer pegi mulecche? Of dat staat veel...
Dat is een bisschen halt durchgeguckt. De Pegel, hoe lekker.
Okay. Ich glaube, mit einer Kombination. Ich mag die Kombination.
Je reprends? Oui. Ah. Guten Abend. Monsieur le ministre, Excellences, chers collègues, chers étudiants et étudiantes, chers invités. A very warm welcome to the University of Luxembourg. Bienvenue à l'UNILU. For this academic year, over 6,600 students have chosen the University of Luxembourg for their studies. This is a great honour, and it's also a great responsibility. For you, the students who have opted for this university and who are at the core of this university, my message today is that we strive to ensure academic excellence at the highest level. Despite sometimes difficult conditions imposed on us, notably by the pandemic. As you've noticed, this winter semester continues under special conditions because of the pandemic. We've planned our curriculum in order to ensure that the university campus is a safe place to study. At the same time, we hope that the quality of teaching does not suffer as a result of our security measures. This is, of course, something that we've been experiencing, all of us, all of you, for 3 semesters. I am optimistic that this very special Rentrée Académique will lay the ground for larger classroom presence and further interaction on the campus. Little by little, we're going to move back towards something like normality. And we're all looking forward to that, because life on campus makes the University of Luxembourg live, and it makes it a less a silent place and more a place of study with community, with interaction, with fun, with joy, with discovery, and with meeting each other. It is good to see each other in person again, and also sometimes to remove our masks and to see each other and remind ourselves how tall somebody is, how small, etc. Last year, we were still forced to hold this ceremony under very restrictive conditions. But looking around me today, this gives me hope that we are on the path to more normality, whatever normality is going to be for quite some time. And as we look back on almost 3 semesters in a state of emergency, we can say that we've learned one major lesson. And that lesson is that resilience and creativity really pay off. Being resilient hasn't always been easy. It's difficult. It's a path that you have to go on. For example, our international students found themselves locked down in the middle of a pandemic and also had the stress on top of that of being very far away from their families and homes. That's difficult for all of us, but even more difficult when that distance is thousands of kilometres. Restricted in our daily lives, we've tried to support you as best we can, and I can say that I am very proud of your strengths in these difficult times. We've been through this. It is a unique experience. It is a unique experience that I hope will soon end, but we have all grown as a result of this, and we know ourselves and each other better. Overall, then, we resorted to our creativity to develop new solutions that could be developed with the financial support that we have and that will continue to serve us in the future, because the teaching of the 21st century was going to be blended learning. We didn't know how blended it would be, but it's there and we're living with it, and we are all, of course, embodying it as well. Our ability to find creative answers to complex problems is rooted in our greatest strengths, you, our community. When we were forced to switch to remote teaching in a short time, we had people to make it happen, and they were already here. Colleagues who contributed in a way that goes far beyond the normal amount of work, who put in not extra hours, but extra days, extra nights, extra weeks, extra months. Thank you all for your energy and for your commitment. Colleagues, many of you faced a double burden of teleworking and family requirements, looking after loved ones, looking after friends. You dealt with the restrictions and the isolation in your homes. Some of you dealt with sickness, some of you dealt with loss, and we pay tribute to this. This is a difficult situation, which is, of course, one that we are still experiencing, but we need today to mark this experience with joy as well as with recognition that it hasn't been easy. Today we can say we are weathering the storm, and hopefully the wind is beginning to die down. A university lives from its intellectual exchange. This is what keeps the flame of research alive, what keeps that boat moving on the sea, and what generates creativity. I am optimistic that as we move slowly back to these daily interactions, our creativity will shine in different and more positive ways as well. This winter semester, our professors and teachers will transfer skills and knowledge to contribute to your intellectual and personal growth, which is also ours. We learn from our students, we learn from ourselves. We broaden your capacities through new study programs. In 2021, for example, we launched 3 medical specializations in our Faculty of Science, Technology and Medicine, a master's degree in data science in our Faculty of Law, Economics and Finance, as well as a certificate in sustainable finance at our Faculty of Humanities, Education and Social Sciences. At the University of Luxembourg, you are engaged in a vibrant scientific community. We are a research-led university, and this is very much part of our international, our local, and our national profile. Over 150 nationalities study and conduct research together. So a special welcome to the new students who have joined us, and also well done, and let's keep working together to the students who are continuing with us, and hopefully we will see through to the end of your studies. We feel your enthusiasm to embark on this new academic adventure. Your enthusiasm sparks ours, and I think this is something that we can all say, that some of the most passionate moments for us are very much when we are sharing our research knowledge, and we feel that we're building the next generation of people who will share those passions. Such a journey isn't simply a walk in the park. From time to time, you might, of course, take a detour and sometimes wonder when the end is in sight. Actually, it's not just students that feel that way. We accompany you on this academic journey. We've been through it ourselves. That is our experience too. We've had our moments of doubt. We've had our loneliness. We've had the day when the only person we talked to was the old lady in the shop round the corner for the whole day, or maybe the whole week. Depends. If you're writing up your PhD, it can be like that. Through our student services and facilities, we accompany you on your career paths. The new buddy program, for example, puts an experienced student at your side for all sorts of questions from student to student, sharing knowledge between peers. So let's start this new academic year with optimism. As we slowly return to a certain degree of normality, this will allow us to meet again colleagues, students, friends, and make new friends. We are a university of togetherness, and together we start this new academic year. I wish you an enriching, successful, and above all, fun winter semester. Thank you very much. And now it is my great pleasure to hand over to the rector of our university, Professor Stéphane Pallage. Stéphane.
Monsieur le ministre de l'Enseignement supérieur et de la Recherche, Vos Excellences les ambassadeurs, Monsieur le recteur émérite, Madame Erna et Nico Schopches, notre marraine, la marraine de notre université, chers collègues, chères étudiantes et étudiants, je suis vraiment très heureux de vous accueillir aujourd'hui pour une rentrée académique 2021-2022 presque normale. Qui aurait cru, il y a à peine 2 ans, que nous nous languirions de la normalité? Et pourtant, après 18 mois de pandémie, c'est un bonheur un vrai bonheur pour l'Université du Luxembourg de vivre une rentrée académique tout simplement normale. Et vous revoir avec les yeux pétillants est une immense joie. Cette pandémie, nous l'avons vécue comme une communauté soudée et solidaire. Nous avons vécu les difficultés du quotidien avec une immense résilience et une créativité qui nous a permis d'inventer de nouvelles façons de travailler, d'enseigner, d'étudier. Notre communauté a fait en sorte que pas un seul jour notre université ne soit à l'arrêt. L'université a rempli chacune de ses missions pendant la pandémie et elle l'a fait avec brio. During this pandemic, our students have continued their studies with courage and determination. Their success makes us very proud. During this pandemic, our researchers have contributed to the national effort to provide expert advice to policymakers through the voice of the COVID-19 Task Force of Research Luxembourg. And their contribution to our society's well-being makes us very proud. They have also managed to publish a record number of articles in international scientific reviews. They have obtained record research funding from national and international agencies. They have managed to do all this while completely changing the way they were teaching. In 10 years, we will look back and say that they are really true heroes. During this pandemic, our staff has worked countless hours to ease everyone else's life, from WebEx to Zoom to Teams to WhatsApp. They have provided support, made sure systems were strong enough to sustain the sudden digitalization of our lives. They have made digitalization look as humanly possible. Together, as a community, we have let the university shape through turbulent waters. And what an extraordinary journey. We have, in fact, done a lot more than fulfill our missions. We have launched, and Catherine mentioned that, the medical curriculum and 3 medical specialties, which will change the country's medical landscape in a durable way. We have developed, through a very participatory process, a 20-year vision for our university, culminating in our strategy framework that will guide all our future developments until 2039. We have co-founded with Toulouse, Krakow, Luleå, and Düsseldorf the first and unique European Space University funded by the European Union. Our experts have accompanied the development of Melusina, the national high-performance computing facility, and its success in the European HPC competition. We have undergone a thorough evaluation of all our teaching activities. We have developed our first ever policy for gender equality. We have also identified the core values of our university to strengthen our foundation for the future. I think we can, I think we should dare to be immensely proud. What has been done is really not common. At the beginning of the pandemic, I told our community, we did not choose to live at this moment in history, but we can choose how we live it. Let's do it with humanity and courage. Let's find the best in ourselves for the benefit of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, mission accomplished. I want to say to our staff, our researchers, our teachers, our students, thank you and bravo. You are simply awesome. L'année académique 2021-2022 a commencé en mode présentiel hybride. Il était très important de permettre à un maximum de nos étudiants, notamment nos nouveaux étudiants étrangers, de se faire vacciner contre la Covid-19. J'espère, et Catherine avec moi, nous espérons pouvoir annoncer bientôt que les cours reprendront en mode présentiel complet. Nous sommes en fait, en ce moment précis, en discussion avec les représentants de la santé publique sur les modalités de cette normalité retrouvée. Bien sûr, dans tous les cas, la prudence restera de mise et les gestes barrières devront être observés pour éviter une résurgence des infections. Mais il est important que l'université retrouve sa vie de campus le plus rapidement possible. Chers amis, chers collègues, il y a 2 semaines, j'ai fait une annonce importante. Mon épouse et moi avons décidé que je ne solliciterais pas de 2e mandat en tant que recteur. La pandémie a considérablement augmenté la distance avec nos 3 enfants restés à Montréal. Nous avons choisi de rentrer au Canada au terme de ce mandat. Ces près de 5 années avec vous auront été un vrai privilège. Je ne compte plus les avancées que notre communauté a réalisées au cours de ce mandat. Je remercie tous ceux qui m'ont écrit des mots souvent très très chaleureux au cours des dernières semaines. Mais ce n'est vraiment pas l'heure des au revoir. Aujourd'hui est un jour de fête. L'Université du Luxembourg a 18 ans ce soir. En fait, elle a eu 18 ans hier soir. Le chemin parcouru depuis octobre 2003 est tout simplement exceptionnel. Bravo. Bravo et merci à cette communauté qui a fait de l'université ce qu'elle est aujourd'hui. Une université de classe mondiale, innovante, inspirante, sans complexe. Une université qui sert de modèle à celles, plus anciennes, qui veulent se réinventer. 18 ans, quel âge magnifique. Aujourd'hui est aussi un jour de fête parce que nous remettons des prix. Nous remettons nos décorations académiques. Je veux ainsi rendre hommage à ces enseignants que nous honorons. Ils ont inspiré nos étudiants chaque jour de l'année écoulée, et Dieu sait si ce n'était pas une année facile. Ils se nomment Ingrid de Saint-Georges, Arlan Koff, Sofia Krausel, Séverine Ménétré, Sebastiano Tronto et Gabor Wies. Tous méritent notre admiration et nos remerciements. I also want to salute our student delegation, whose work under the leadership of Nicolas Schreiner during this difficult year has been absolutely superb. The whole delegation will be awarded this year's Student Initiative Award, together with the Belval Express Theatre. I will close this speech by looking ahead. I still have a lot to do in the months to come. A new 4-year plan has been adopted. It will be the first instrument in the implementation of the strategy framework. It is one instrument that will help materialize this long-term vision. It is an ambitious plan that will take medicine and health to new heights. Sustainable and societal development will be a second fundamental pillar of the new 4-year plan. The digital transformation and the groundbreaking challenges it poses to all of us is the third pillar of the plan. For the first time in the university's history, we have chosen to favor interdisciplinary challenges rather than identify disciplinary priorities. The 3 challenges I have just mentioned are among the most important ones facing mankind in this 21st century. Our university will provide answers to the questions these challenges raise. Dear friends, today is also a day of celebration because we are welcoming the future director of the Luxembourg Center for Systems Biomedicine, Professor Michael Haneke. He will give the keynote address in a few minutes. Michael, it will be thrilling to work with you starting next January. Of course, when we welcome someone, sometimes we say goodbye to someone else. He's not here today with us, but I want to pay tribute to Professor Rudy Balling, who has invented our beloved LCSB. He has taken this beautiful center to what it is now. Rudy will be leaving us in a few weeks, but he will always, always be in our hearts. Mesdames, Messieurs, chers collègues et étudiants, bonne Rentrée Académique. Vielen Dank für die Unterstützung unserer Universität, die heute ihr 18-jähriges Bestehen feiert. Herzlichen Dank unserer Gemeinschaft, die unsere Universität jeden Tag aufs Neue mit großer Passion zum Leben bringt. Vielen Dank, thank you, vielmals merci.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, oui, Solange? Très bien. Alors, pendant que Michael Haneke se prépare, je vais vite le présenter. Comme le recteur nous a dit, donc, nous sommes en ce moment en train de dire au revoir au professeur Rudy Balling et nous disons aujourd'hui bonjour en anticipation du mois de janvier 2022, quand il commencera comme le nouveau directeur du LCSB, le professeur Michael Haneke, le directeur donc du département de Neurodegenerative Disease, je n'ai pas écrit ici en français, désolé, et professeur de neurologie clinique à l'université de Bonn, en Allemagne. Et je passe la parole donc au professeur Haneke.
Excellent. Dear Minister Maish, dear Excellencies, dear Rector Palage, dear colleagues and students, ladies and gentlemen, since more than 18 months, we suffer from a virus pandemic which has no comparison in our days. And despite we believe that we may overcome this now by vaccination, I'm afraid that COVID-19 will keep us busy for quite some time due to its long-term consequences. Post-COVID-19, COVID-19 long haulers, chronic COVID-19 syndrome, and long COVID are all umbrella terms which try to capture and describe symptoms and complaints which arise long after the initial infection by the virus. And you see here the heart, the lung, the gut, but as you may easily recognize, most of the symptoms which patients are suffering from arise from an involvement of the brain. And just, by the way, for a neurologist, the eye is not more than a part of the brain which has grown too far. Now, how can the virus inflict the brain? There are various ways, and one is direct encephalitis and neuroinflammation, and in a minute I will show you a case. There's vasculitis and vasculopathy. There is systemic inflammation and the so-called cytokine storm, which harm the brain. There is the induction of autoimmune antibody generation against neuronal antigens, which can, in a long term, affect brain function and morphology. And there's the peripheral dysfunction and failure of organs, which directly affect the brain. And last but not least, we have to take into account that therapies may not only be beneficial, but also can affect brain function and morphology over time. Now, this is giving you an example how the virus can enter the brain. And you see here TRIG-positive olfactory axons which penetrate the bone and end in the nasal cavity. And as an example, you see here that there's SARS-CoV-2 in these nerve endings, and in a higher magnification down here, in yellow, you see SARS-CoV-2 residing in these neurons. And this phenomenon may actually be responsible for the frequently reported loss of smell and taste, which COVID sufferers report. Now, this is a case of a 19-year-old Japanese male which has been admitted to a hospital very early in the first wave of the pandemic due to an increasing frequency of seizures, which was arising from a hippocampal encephalitis, as you can see in his MRI. And we know by now that acute COVID affects the brain mainly very often by loss of smell and taste, but direct encephalitis, stroke, epilepsy, and delirium. Now, one may guessed that by looking just at acute cases, the long-term consequences could also affect neurocognitive functions. And this is a study that looked to a PET measure. This is visualizing glucose utilization as an indicative for the neuronal activation. And here you can see red indicates high activity and blue and green low activity. And I hope you can see that in these control cases, there is in the cortex a red signal over the entire cortex. When we compare this to the COVID case, this is entirely gone. So this tells you that there is less neuronal activity in these patients in widespread areas of the brain. And it was highly correlated with loss of executive abilities, dysfunction of memory and attention, and problems with visual construction in these patients. Now, this is a quote from one of the patients I saw myself very early, 6 months after the first wave, and he told me that he would have not had major difficulties with the infection itself, apart from loss of smell and taste. But 6 months after, he had lost memory function and compromising his exam preparations. And since then, things have gone worse. Over the year 2020, our outpatient unit for dementia cases saw an increasing percentage of COVID cases, so that in August we had to start a new outpatient clinic just for COVID cases because we couldn't see our normal dementia patients any longer. Now, could we have learned from history and foresee what was coming? I guess so, but sometimes it's hard to look into the past. But the Russian flu, for example, had cases in the aftermath that were suffering from psychosis and anxiety. Well known is the Spanish flu and the so-called catatonia, or encephalitis lethargica, described by von Economou, an Austrian neurologist, for the first time and addressed in the movie Awakenings with Robert De Niro for quite some time in the 80s. Now, in the subsequent decade, there were a number of Parkinson's symptoms being observed globally. And in the more recent SARS or MERS infections in 2003 and 2012, memory dysfunction, attention deficits, and loss of concentration and focus was frequently observed years after patients had suffered from initial infection. Now you can see here that we already had people wearing masks or social isolation with closed public places. So there are not so many new things. Now, we now know that COVID sufferers, long COVID sufferers, have a loss of processing speed, have verbal memory deficits, and attention deficits. Less frequently, they suffer from headache, muscle pain, and Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is paresis. Now, 60 to 80% of COVID cases may suffer from one isolated or a combination of several of these symptoms. This shows you that these symptoms are not functionally only, but COVID-19 as a long chronic syndrome affects brain morphology. In red, you see gray matter volume reduction, so loss of brain tissue in the red areas, and in blue, you see the loss of axonal integrity. That is directly correlated to processing speed, because as your axons lose integrity, as slower information is being processed. Now, we quite early predicted in the first wave that something was happening like this. And I wrote this article supposing that the cytokine storm would be the major hit to the brain. And we even suggested a single signal transduction pathway being responsible for that in this paper. And we set out and asked the funding agencies to support two studies. One, which was founded by the NIH, and it's running at UMass in Worcester, and the second, which has been funded now by the BMBF in Germany. It's a Covimune study. And I want to show you two findings of these studies, which we already know, which are cross-sectional, of course, of nature, but I think they are important to predict what is going to happen. Here, we see that patients who have a severe form of initial COVID infection compared to asymptomatic initial COVID infection show no difference, which is a surprise. In both cases, brain function, and in this case, verbal memory, has been hit hard in comparison to control cases. And this is paralleled by a loss of brain volume in the temporal lobe. This is this brain area over here. So you can clearly see that within 1 year, these cases have lost volume of their brain, and it's most likely that this volume is never coming back. Now, we know that people after COVID-19 infection have a very hard way back to work. And this schematic by Davis and colleagues shows you this bar graph over here, that people are severe and not recovered cases are not working to more than 20%. Most of them have reduced hours, and only a few, about 20%, 25%, are back to work without any impact on their capabilities. On the other hand, people who are recovered have also reduced hours, which may indicate that they're not yet fully recovered, and about 40 to 45% have fully recovered, are back to work. But so this is a long-term impact which also directly hits our working power. Next to neurological symptoms, psychiatric symptoms can appear isolated or in conjunction with neurological deficits. And most well-known are the anxiety behaviors, the obsessive-compulsory behavior, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, all limiting the ability of these people to function in their daily life properly. Now, we have another pandemic, which is not so clear, but which many of us may experience in their immediate environment. We will see over the next 3 decades a rise of dementia cases from currently 44 million to 150 million cases worldwide. And we suppose that COVID-19, through long neuro-COVID, is directly enhancing the numbers and aggravating these acceleration of disease in these cases. We believe that there are various mechanisms, and one is the inflammatory hit to the brain, which is my personal scientific specialty, so I will not allude to this, but I give you another example. Social isolation, loneliness, reduced physical therapy and attention, and logopedics may really harm patients. Why is that the case? This is work by my friend and colleague Carl Cotman, and what Carl Cotman did, he looked to people who were in a nursing home in England, and he had 3 categories here. people who would be not moved over an entire week, so no physical activity whatsoever, people who would have one walking hour, one walking hour per week, and people who would have 2 walking hours per week. And now you see that in this cognitive scale, people who are sedentary and have no physical activity progress in their cognitive decline. People who have 1 walking hour are more or less stable. But people who are physically active and have 2 hours of activity, they show even an improvement. Now that reinforces that isolation and less attention will dramatically impact on, in this case, Alzheimer's patients. Now, what has to be done now? I believe that we have to support centers that really focus on studies that have their neurocognitive form and consequences of COVID-19 as a major focus. We need to develop cognitive rehabilitation because there's first indication that this could actually help. We need to search for therapies, for acute therapies during the infection itself, but also for long COVID cases. And we have to initiate studies which are actually focusing on recovery, on progression, and really test what we can do to make the life of long COVID-19 sufferers better. There's the test for efficacy of pharmacological interventions, but also non-pharmacological interventions, as I just alluded to. And these studies need to be designed and financed for long. We will be judged as medical doctors by history, how much information we now accumulate for subsequent generations. I remember my virologist teacher in '92 predicting exactly such a pandemic. He also predicted the site where it would arise from. We also need to think of our kids. We have much less data on the development of kids. And there is an indication from a US study that kids born during the virus pandemic have a reduction of primary intelligence, which would be a dramatic hit. Now, we all need to accumulate this evidence not only for ourselves, but also for the coming generations, because there will be a next virus pandemic. It's not a question when, it's not a question if, it's a question when. Now, and beyond this, we all have experienced a very strange thing over the past couple of months. People who were completely denying COVID-19, protesting and neglecting the opportunity to get a vaccine. Vaccine protesters, we call them in Germany. And during these protests, a colleague of mine was sending me a WhatsApp with this text: people who believe that mRNA vaccines will change their genome editing should welcome the opportunity. And the first thing was, of course, it put a smile on my face. But the second thing was that may not be right. They're just not informed enough. They're just not sure enough that they can trust research and science. And that, in fact, may be another duty for a university like us. We need to provide information in a way, in a form that enables everybody to understand, to trust, and to get treatment and get protection. And I think this is something we could do better in future times. And with this, I thank you for your attention, and I hope you all get vaccinated.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Hennecker. If any of you would like to go for a 2-hour walk at this moment, please control yourselves. We actually have a little bit more of this ceremony to go. I think also after all this very interesting, valuable, but of course deeply concerning information, we probably need some music. So I would like to invite our musicians now to play a short interlude. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Maintenant, nous passons aux Teaching Awards. C'est le moment, bien sûr, où, pendant la rentrée académique, nous marquons la contribution de nos professeurs, de nos membres du personnel enseignants-chercheurs et aussi de nos étudiants. Alors, nous allons procéder par faculté et après nous allons dans la direction de la communauté étudiante elle-même. Alors d'abord je voudrais présenter le professeur Jean-Marc Schlenker pour la FSTM. Jean-Marc, je t'invite. Pour rassurer Jean-Marc, il n'a qu'à se tenir à côté de moi pendant que nous regardons ensemble un film.
Gabor Wiese is a world-renowned researcher in the fields of algebra and number theory who has spectacularly reformed and reorganized the teaching of these topics in our programs. Gabor is both a teacher and a mentor, and also been one of the driving forces behind several innovative teaching activities. We are humbled by Gabor's exemplary commitment as a teacher, but also as a stellar researcher and as an extremely effective administrator. Congratulations to you, Gabor.
I had the honor of following several courses taught by Professor Gabor Wiese in the framework of the doctoral program in mathematics. I am delighted to congratulate you, Gabor, for your excellent teaching skills. You regularly proposed courses from a large variety of topics. What I particularly liked is the idea to have, beyond a clear exposition of the topics, the goal of constructively reworking teaching or research material together. Many thanks and congratulations, Gabor.
I am very proud to congratulate Professor Wiese for his teaching award. He is a great teacher. He is very passionate about his subject and motivating everyone in his lectures. He also offers a huge number of projects in the bachelor and master programs, and they are always among the most popular ones because they are fun, they are instructive, and they are very well coached by him. On top of this, he is always welcoming to anyone with questions or in need of advice. I remember when I was in high school, I had questions about math studies in Luxembourg, and it was Professor Wiese who answered with an email of 3.5 pages full of good advice. It shows just how much he cares about his students.
Alors nous invitons le professeur Gabor Wiese à nous rejoindre sur la scène. Yes, of course.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really pleased and delighted and also surprised to receive it, so I don't really know why I get it for. But if I get it for something, I would say it's the Experimental Mathematics Lab that I would like to advertise a little bit here. Mathematics is a very theoretical subject, as you know, and the studies are theoretic. There's nothing to be discussed, there's nothing to be said about that. But with the Experimental Mathematics Lab, we invite the students from the second term onwards for some research experience. We give them experimental mathematics topics they can work on, and the students love that, and as the rector says, they have fun, and I hope they will continue to have fun. And this prize, the money that goes with it, I think I'm going to invest it in there to make this better known, so that instead of, if you click on that now on Google, you'll find an old-fashioned web page, and maybe sometime later you'll find a video, and then you're also delighted about that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We now have a second film.
I got to know Sebastiano as a very helpful and friendly person, and I was very fascinated by his skills with the Rubik's Cube. Thus, I'm very grateful that he supported me during my master thesis, which had this cube as the main topic. I knew that I could ask him anything and that he always tried to understand my problems. Thus, he was a very great tutor. Big congratulations, Sebastiano.
Sebastiano Tronto made the utmost to ensure his lectures are highly accessible. He gave his students the optimal support by pre-recording the lectures and uploading them online. In addition, he succeeded in shaping the lectures and making them extremely interesting. He has my gratitude and warm congratulations.
Sebastiano is an amazing teacher, capable of explaining the most complicated concepts by focusing on the essential. His enthusiasm is contagious. Sebastiano is outstanding, but also very modest. I think I should also mention that Sebastiano is a world record Rubik's Cube champion, namely in the mathematical challenge of solving the cube in the least number of moves. Congratulations for your award, Sebastiano.
Alors j'invite le docteur Tronto à venir sur la scène. Ah, d'accord.
Thank you.
Yeah, you now get to hold a microphone and a trophy at the same time, so maybe you might put it there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to receive this prize. I must say that I was a bit worried when I was about to prepare and teach this course because it's the first time that I have to organize a course from start to bottom to prepare everything. So it's the course that I gave last semester about mathematical software. So I put in a lot of effort to choose the topics in a way that were interesting for the students and useful for their future life, and I'm glad that they appreciated this. So yeah, thank you. It was a lot of hard work. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. J'invite maintenant la vice-doyenne de la FDEF sur la scène, Isabelle Riaceto. Et nous allons visionner 2 films aussi.
Sophia is an inspiring teacher and a caring person. She's passionate about the research she conducts, and she has the power to build communities as she encourages collaboration between students. She also motivates her students to brainstorm because she gives them space for expression. During her classes, I felt very confident to discuss innovative ideas and future solutions for financial markets.
Gratitude to you for all the dedication, for all the love that you have shown to the world of academia, to the students. I would like to thank you for the outstanding quality courses that you have lectured at the university. And most of all, I would like to thank you for the passion that you have transmitted to the students. Personally, for me, it was extremely interesting and passionate to follow your courses. I think that you ignited the interest of all the students, and it was truly an amazing journey to be a student of yours. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. You deserve this reward, and I wish you many more of it in the future.
J'invite le docteur Kreuzl sur la scène. Oui.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like to say a few words? Oh, you've got a microphone here.
Yes.
shouldn't break the tradition here. So I just want to actually thank you, students, for this award, because actually that goes for you. Because without your enthusiasm, your criticism, your questions, your ideas, actually I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't communicate that passion and that excitement about research, about digitization, about finance, about human decision-making, whatever we are discussing in the lecture. So without you, students, I wouldn't be here. So thank you very, very much for your words. I really appreciate it.
Nous passons au deuxième film.
I'm very honored to congratulate Professor Ménétré for her award. She deserves it. Professor Ménétré always has concise and useful support presentations and encourages us to express ourselves. She always includes aspects of comparative law, which perfectly reflects the spirit of the bachelor. Not only is she a charismatic professor, she's also very accessible anytime. During the pandemic, she organized several calls to ask how we were dealing with online classes. Once again, congratulations.
I am working with Séverine on many projects, and especially on my thesis. My work with her is really enriching. She's always willing to share her knowledge and helps me to structure my work. I am glad that Séverine got the awards. Congratulations, Séverine.
As I observed in her class, her innovative problem-based learning approach always makes students successfully involved. Besides, she likes to listen, and that's why she's very appreciated by students. Thank you, Professor, and congratulations.
J'invite le professeur Ménétré sur la scène.
Merci, merci à l'université et merci aux étudiants, parce qu'effectivement, sans eux, nous ne serions pas là. J'aimerais aussi prendre le temps de souligner la chance qui est la nôtre d'enseigner à l'Université du Luxembourg. La vie en général, et la vie académique en particulier, est ainsi faite qu'on ne prend pas beaucoup le temps de prendre la mesure. Et que ces derniers mois, on a été un peu forcés de s'arrêter et de prendre la mesure et de redonner à chaque chose ses justes proportions. Sa famille, son travail, mais aussi les étudiants, l'enseignement. On s'est rendu compte à quel point l'enseignement occupait une place primordiale dans notre travail académique. Et c'est là que je dis qu'on a un privilège par les conditions matérielles, technologiques, mais aussi par nos étudiants qui ont su s'adapter d'une manière extraordinaire et qui continuent à le faire. Donc bravo et merci à eux.
Merci beaucoup. Nous passons donc à la FHSE et j'invite le doyen, Georg Mein, sur scène. Et nous allons regarder 2 films.
Hi, I am Olivia, and I am one of Ingrid's students. Ingrid strikes me as someone with a deep love for her work, both as a teacher and as a sociologist. During our classes, she fostered a climate for self-expression and exchange. Ingrid also always acknowledged our opinions and experiences, and she encouraged us to safeguard our diversity, linguistic and otherwise. During the heights of COVID, she made a point about the necessity of taking care of our mental health. So to me, Ingrid's teaching excellency stems from her deep sense of humanity. and thus she deserves the recognition. Well done.
My first class in the master was with Professor Dr. de Saint-Georges. I was absolutely jet-lagged and tired as I had arrived the previous night, but she made me feel immediately at home in the program. Afterwards, when the pandemic hit and we all had to scramble to adapt our studies to our new model, Professor Dr. de Saint-Georges was at the forefront of the transition, not only by giving interesting lectures, but by listening to us, our fears and pains during the crisis. She created all the spaces she could to make us feel better, and her support and care was pivotal to avoid many of us students dropping out from the program. She has also been an academic role model for my classmates and for myself. Her classes have always been favorites, and the amount of learning that we have done in them is astonishing. She has made us relearn to love learning, knowing that we have someone to look up to. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Professor de Saint-Georges.
J'invite le professeur de Saint-Georges à nous rejoindre sur la scène. Merci.
I have written a few notes because I know with emotions, ideas don't come. So it's really a little bit hard for me to put my thoughts into words. I'm truly honored and very grateful to be the recipient of this award. I'm very touched by the testimonies from the students. And I think in the past 2 years, we found out with students that continuing to learn and think together was one of the ways to offset adversity, to find joy in hardship, and to make sense of the world. I'm truly in awe at the resilience and the commitment to learning the student displayed over this time. I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Georg Mein, the Dean of our faculty, to Christine Shields, to the Decana, to Program Director Gabriele Budak and Crystal Karlskind, and the IT staff for valuing, supporting, and making possible innovative and imaginative teaching. I would also like to thank the Rectorate, in particular Stéphane Palage, Catherine Leglu, but also Jan Zuttevern and others for their leadership during the storm. Thank you for the trust and freedom and making UniLu a place where we can experiment, develop, and rise to new occasions with wonderfully supporting colleagues. It is truly a rare privilege to be part of this diverse and rich community for me. So thank you for this award, which is really wonderful to receive.
Nous passons au deuxième film.
Professor Koff's success relies on the fact that he's both relatable and approachable. This might be due to his life and work experience in different places across the globe. After all these years, he remains always available for a chat, as well as willing to give a good piece of advice. His endorsement for an interdisciplinary approach in research is something I have personally come to appreciate in the course of my own academic path. He has been of great support to me, and I believe I'm here today representing many other students' voices. Congratulations, Professor Koff.
I was not surprised that Arlan receives this prize, and what I particularly like in Arlan classes is that every time he reiterates that he's learning from his students, and as a student he gives us a voice in the class and make us contribute differently. So this changes the learning process. And Arlan is also very good at adapting his class to his audience to make sure that we all learn the most of it based on our current knowledge, and to make sure always that we successfully progress in a certain direction. And finally, what I particularly enjoyed in Arlan classes was that he is able to bring academia and practitioners together, which give us as a student new perspective. So once again, congratulations Arlan, you deserve this prize.
I invite Professor Koff to come to the stage.
Harlan, I hear that you might... Is it okay for you to come up? That's fine. Slowly.
So thank you very much. This is an incredible honor. It is one that I receive as an individual, but it doesn't belong to me alone. In fact, I was in Mexico when the COVID-19 pandemic began at the Instituto de Ecología as part of the Gamma UL chair, which is supported by the university, and I'm very grateful to the university for this support. But it was frustrating to be far away from my students, and there were many questions, and this award also belongs to them, of course, because they responded not just with enthusiasm and with commitment, but they also opened their minds, and we traveled the world together, even though we were all in lockdown. In addition, this belongs to an international community of practitioners and scholars who lectured in our classes, who helped us with supervision, and who also accepted interviews from our students for their papers. We really had a community of internationalists that came together, and I really believe that this is the new normal in terms of teaching, and this really helped us with resilience. I'd also like to thank my family, because this notion of internationalism is our philosophy in our daily lives, which we reinforce through all our interactions. So thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. We now go on to the Student Awards. And the first award that we have is the Student Initiative Award. And I would like to invite our new director of the SEV, the Service des Études de la Vie Étudiante, Grégory Dubost, to join me on stage. So we will watch 2 films and then take it from there.
Dear students, first of all, a warm welcome to the University of Luxembourg. 2020 was a difficult and challenging year, but it was an exceptional year for the Student Awards. This past year, we have witnessed the extraordinary resilience of our students and their ability to face the pandemic's hardships with courage, optimism, and inventiveness. This year, therefore, 2 nominees were awarded for their outstanding initiatives. The first nominee is the student delegation. The student delegation's tasks this year were tremendous. During this pandemic year, the mental health and well-being of our students was greatly impacted. Yet, the student delegation kept very proactive in finding solutions to relieve our students and support them in overcoming the many difficulties linked to the health constraints, especially within the lockdown periods. The student delegation initiated a special Mental Health Impact Week in collaboration with UNEL Association. This was a major signal towards our students to point out the importance of taking care of themselves and their mental health. It is likely that such an initiative will be maintained as a recurrent event, especially given the fact that the dates chosen corresponded to the European Mental Health Week. I would like to congratulate and thank the student delegation represented by its president, Nicolas Schreiner, and his team for their consistent involvement in supporting our students in difficult moments and providing them with the right tools for relief, support, and well-being. The second nominee is the Belval Express Theatre. The student theatre project, called Belval Express Theatre, was initiated in 2019 by a group of students of the Bachelor of Science in Psychology. They all strongly committed to enrich student life on Belval campus. their first play, At the Dinner Table, a comedy written and directed by student Natasha Stevenin, was performed twice in December 2019 in a very original interactive format involving audience participation. Unfortunately, the pandemic shattered possible plans for future live performances, but this did not deter the Belval Express Theatre from pursuing their project. They decided to make the best artistic and creative use out of the new virtual tools, and thus turned a standard video conference into a theatre performance itself, with both audience and actors. This project is remarkable in demonstrating how students manage not only to overcome obstacles, but also to use new technological tools and conditions in the most creative way. I wish to express my warm congratulations to the Belval Express Theatre, with a special mention for Natasha Stevenin, author of the play At the Dinner Table, for their creativity, resourcefulness, and positive spirit.
We will give one award after the other. So first I would like the representative of the student delegation to come to this stage, please. Nicolas Schreiner. Yeah.
On behalf of the student delegation, it's a great honor to be awarded the Student Initiative Awards of 2021. I believe this is a sign that the student voice has finally found its rightful place within the organization of the University of Luxembourg. We started our mandate with an unprecedented circumstances for the student community and the university. Like previously said, the resilience of students has been remarkable. On the other hand, as we saw, mental health impact, the impact on the mental health of the students was an issue we were very concerned about. Our initiative was targeting especially those suffering the most from the isolation, the remote classes, and as well not access to their friends and family. We wanted to provide them with the tools to cope with this situation and have better perspectives for the future. On another note, the student delegation is still very young. It is there to evolve, to grow, and to improve. Same as the University of Luxembourg. It is dependent on feedback, and this is important for the university to listen to the students, their needs and interests. The student delegation is there to devote themselves, to actively and purposefully represent their interests and needs and make their voice as loud as it can be. Thank you very much.
Before I ask Natasha Stevenin to come to the stage, I would also like to say that we all are aware, of course, that Stephanie Kniel was the director of the SEV until this summer. And also we'd like to say that we wish her all the very best in her new job. And I would like to thank her long distance for all the work that she did actually throughout the pandemic as well in steering the path for the SEV, and also, of course, for ensuring that Grégory could come into post, which is nearly 100% in post now, not yet, in a very, very smooth way. So actually, I would just like quickly to thank the SEV as a whole as well for all the work that they've done. And now I would like to invite Natasha Stevenin onto the stage for the Belval Express Theatre. Please. I think this is the whole of the Belval Express Theatre that is done. Maybe one of you would like to hold the trophy. Yeah.
Okay. So hi everyone, thank you so much for giving us this award, which is such an incredible recognition. I mean, we would have never imagined standing here one day getting an award because we're such a young theater group who just started with their projects in 2019. So it means a lot to us. Thank you so much. I would also like to thank our study direction and coordination, because without them we wouldn't be here. And also all the actors who couldn't make it tonight, but who would absolutely deserve to stand here with us on stage. I would also like to announce that we are planning a new theater representation this semester, so if you're interested, we would be very happy to have you there as spectators. Yeah, thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, j'invite tous les gagnants de tous les trophées à se rejoindre à nous maintenant sur la scène. Oui, ne partez pas en courant, revenez. Si tous les lauréats pourraient revenir sur la scène, s'il vous plaît, on va faire une photo de groupe. Could the rector please join us on stage as well? Okay, how about moving into a sort of double... social distancing is not necessary in this room, so... okay, if you could... is that okay? Do we need to move a little further? Okay, good. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. So this is the end of the award part of this event, and I would like to invite the musicians to entertain us with a short musical interlude, and then we will conclude with the minister's speech. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. And now I would like to invite Mr. Claude Maish, the Minister for Higher Education and Research, to say a few words. Minister.
Monsieur le recteur, monsieur le professeur Heneka, mesdames et messieurs, permettez-moi de vous dire combien je me sens honoré de pouvoir assister enfin à nouveau, oserais-je dire, en présentiel à cette cérémonie marquant l'inauguration de l'année académique 2021-2022. Mesdames, messieurs, l'année académique 2020-2021 a été une année académique marquée comme l'année précédente par les répercussions de la pandémie de la Covid-19. Et même si l'Université de Luxembourg, ses enseignants, ses chercheurs, ses professeurs, son personnel et surtout ses élèves ont déjà pu, malgré eux, mais avec bravoure, acquérir dès les premières vagues de la pandémie une certaine expérience dans la gestion des multiples contraintes et restrictions imposées par le virus, la Covid-19 a inévitablement continué à affecter aussi bien les étudiants eux-mêmes que l'organisation et le fonctionnement des programmes d'études. Mais encore une fois, grâce à l'enseignement à distance et à l'engagement considérable de tous les collaborateurs de l'université, l'organisation des programmes d'études a pu être garantie et la grande majorité des étudiants ont pu progresser dans leur parcours académique. En intensifiant divers services de soutien financier et psychologique aux étudiants, avec la mise en place en outre de la plateforme de santé mentale et des thérapies en ligne pour étudiants et membres du personnel, ainsi que des activités contre l'isolement social, l'université sut prendre ses responsabilités aussi dans ce domaine et a souligné son humanisme et son professionnalisme. Dès lors, je souhaite remercier ici toutes celles et tous ceux qui ont contribué durant 1 an et demi déjà à résoudre dans un effort commun et conjoint toutes les questions qui se sont posées. Une crise d'une telle portée nécessite l'engagement, la coopération et la solidarité de tout un chacun. Je me félicite du climat constructif qui nous a permis de garantir un fonctionnement à tous les niveaux au cours des derniers mois et qui a permis de planifier l'année académique 2021-2022. Pendant l'année écoulée, marquée encore par les répercussions de la pandémie, l'université a su progresser sur le chemin de développement soutenu qu'elle a connu au cours des années précédentes. Permettez-moi de souligner en particulier les projets contractés en